Happy Monday, everyone. Well, we're live, but we lost Jacob, the Scumbassador that's doing our Facebook Live. So hold on. Let me send him a text and tell him we can't see him. We can't see you. No, I'm going to ask you something. Oh, there you are. Now you're back. Okay, I was
Am
just
I back?
a text. Yeah. I thought it was me. I thought that, Nicholas hosts these Facebook Lives now for everybody. And I thought Nicholas had some kind of a scheme against me that every time I hosted, there's some sort of technological mess up here. Hey, welcome, everybody. Let's start this officially. I'm Carrie Fonte with Reuzel Education. We are joined today by Jacob Baynes. He's a Scumbassador in St. Louis, Missouri. You don't see him very often. He kind of likes to lay low from the Facebook Lives, but he does a great job. Give him a lot of energy and comments in the comment section. Let's help let him know that you're out there watching. If you've got any questions, type those as well. I'll interrupt Jake and get the answers for you. And with that, I'll stop talking and turn it over to you. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Good morning, everybody. As Carrie said, my name is Jacob. I'm out of St. Louis, Missouri. Super excited to be here with you guys this morning. As you guys can see, my model has some beautiful locks. We've got some absolute lettuce that we're going to work with today. This morning when I woke up, my water heater was out. I'm very excited to be here with you. And then I took a freezing cold shower. So now I was excited to be here with you. Plus, I'm absolutely wired. So if any of you start your days with freezing cold shower, for one, I applaud you. For two, I think you're insane. But that's more power to you. So freezing cold right now, but we're feeling good. Super pumped to be here. As well, the area that I'm in my salon in St. Louis. We do have our unfinished space back here, kind of our photo shoot area, a little bit of a studio. So if it pans over there, we just went through a big remodel as well. So there's construction stuff. So no, I'm not in somebody's basement. This is a real operation here. So today, we are going to be giving my beautiful model here. We're going to go on the mullet side. We got some real long hair. I want to keep the long hair. And as far as our mullets go, we're not going traditional, real tight, real faded, low type of mullet. I want long. I want that flow still there. I want Patrick Swayze type of mullets. If you don't know, look it up. One of the greatest mullets, and that's what we want to give him here today. What I want to accomplish with you guys throughout our time together is, for one, kind of how I make my mullets, my separations, my partings, things like that, because to me, that's the most important part. Of course, keeping a square shape, that's what's going to be the most important here, while, of course, following the Reuzel steps that you guys all know and love. Or if this is your first one, welcome. Happy to have you. We'll get through all those Reuzel steps, and then, of course, we're going to talk some styling as well. So getting into it, of course, my first step, going to get them all saturated. I got water here in this bottle. Get all those curls nice and moisturized. Like I talked about, my partings are some of my most important part for the mullet. That's how I set the shape in, because I'm going to be following all those lines that I'm creating. So for one, those lines need to have a process to them, something methodical, know why we're putting them in there, as well as clean partings. Every time I do a haircut, I don't think that I'm some best hair cutter in the world. I don't think that I'm some magical educator or anything like that, but Reuzel is a beautifully simple process to follow. I think as difficult as haircutting can be, because we all know it's not easy, there is a simplicity to it as well. And in that simplicity lies your steps. So as long as your steps are solid, you know your process, frontwards, backwards, all that good stuff, you no longer have that worry of, are my haircuts going to turn out? Are they going to look good? You know your steps, you know your process, you know exactly what you're doing. You roughly know how that end result is going to look. So let's hope we can achieve that today. Get you guys a little bit more comfortable, maybe with some length, maybe with the mullets. Maybe you guys are getting a lot of them. As Carrie stated, I've definitely changed a lot since even probably last time any of you guys have seen me on here. Went full on 06 Britney because I had to, shave the head, you know what I mean? Put the blonde in. Fun stuff, changing it around. I like the classic haircuts as well as all the different modern twists on them. And that's kind of what one of this is today. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to middle part him. And what I want to do is I want to separate the front from the back first. So this shape right in here, right around the parietals, getting our shape set in right through here, and then transitioning into the back is our two very important areas. So right here, from where his ear, crest of his head, the widest part of his head, everything forward, that's what needs to be nice and tight. Or at least that difference between the front to the back. So I'm going to middle part him. Now for these next partings that I'm going to put in, it's going to be a little bit out of order than what we're used to on our Reuzel steps. Again, to separate the front and the back. Anytime I get asked about any kind of advanced haircutting, basic haircutting, anything like that, to me, the only difference between the two is advanced cutting is just knowing your foundation so insanely well. The analogy that I always like to use is when we're in school, we go over some kind of lesson plan during the day. And then in that lesson plan, we have some kind of work, and it's usually pretty simple. It goes exactly with what it said. And then we're given homework, and that homework is a little bit tougher. And then we're given the test. And a lot of the times that test is like, we've never seen these things before. 9 out of 10 times, of course, if you've had a good teacher, you have seen a lot of those things before, but you've only seen the foundations. You haven't known, where do we take this from here? Of course, in the hair industry, we love to talk about, I love breaking rules. I love changing things. You cannot break the rules until you know them. But then it gets really fun. So what all that is leading me to is, again, our partings are going to be almost out of order, but again, it's still that Reuzel fashion. So whenever we get to the top of the head, normally what we're doing for our first separation in our crown area is we want that widest part of the head is where it separates. So I'm going to do that first to, again, get that front separated from the back. So right behind his ear, widest part of his head, can walk my comb up, find the top, bring it straight back. So you guys can see my first parting. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. My model here is one of my boys, Colin. He's typically a model just because he's got the great hair. Behind the camera, I have my girlfriend. I know a bunch of you guys watching at home just went, oh, he's got a girlfriend. I get it, you know what I mean? But I'm just kidding. So now that I have those partings in, now I want to separate the bottom from the top. So the way that I'm going to do that, I want to find that peak in the hairline. So we have our hairline walking up this way, hairline going across. Right at that corner is where I'm going to start my separation. Now for this first one, all I'm doing is taking it back to that initial parting that we made. So now this here is my first section. Everything else nice and saturated and combed away as well. And now we can get started. So again, we're going to begin with our baseline theory, right? Like we talked about, this is our foundation. This is what we learned in the lesson plan. This is what we learned during class. Now, how can we fit it to something else? We're not going super short. We're not going super tight. He has some length down through here that hasn't quite caught up with the top yet. So we're going to kind of combine those two. So again, this first section, my favorite way to talk about this section is the marble section. If you guys have heard it a million times, that should be kind of like flaring red lights in your head when you do this, or if this is the first time you've heard it, what we talk about is this first section should be completely parallel to the ground. Head shape is or head position is straightforward. As I take this section out, I should be able to put a marble on top of it, and it's not going to roll anywhere. It'll stay exactly where it needs to. So baseline section comes straight out to me. Find my desired length. Cut straight across. Now, because he's my friend and I can say this about him, his hairline is a little bit farther back. And the reason that I bring that up, and it's important, I'm not just making fun of him, is because I do have a bit of a smaller section in through here. What that tells me is I don't want to go insanely short. That's why I left a lot of that length out here, because when we talked about that transition earlier, I don't want to be taking a lot of length off back here. So the cut that I make up here is going to depend, it's going to give me that length that I have back here. So again, I don't want to go super short. I want enough that I have that difference from the front to the back, but nothing crazy. So again, if you have a bit harsher of a hairline, you might have a bigger section up here. Just be wary of where you're making your length and how that's going to affect the back. So now that my baseline is cut. Yeah.
Sorry, just a quick question. So a gentleman asks, how did you come up with doing the mullet on this particular model? Like, did you have a consultation? Was it something that he wanted with his hairstyle? Did you look at his face? Like, if somebody can wear all of them, how did you land on this?
That's a very good question, actually. One of my favorites. So him and I, like I said, he's been my model for a while, so I've kind of known what his hair has gone through in the cuts. And so when his texture, that's what I always look for. When guys want mullets, of course, I try my hardest to never tell a client just straight up no. Let's think of maybe ways we can change what you want. However, that really pinned straight hair, it's not going to be the best for mullets, right? With mullets now, we want the cool look. Like I said, we want that Patrick Swayze, we want that Kurt Russell type of mullet look, and he has the texture, he has the curls that's going to really support a look like that, as opposed to all of his hair just slicking straight back. You know what I mean? We don't want the constant, Bush Light type of mullet. Like I said, we want fun fashion. So his texture was a big one for me. And also his fashion. He's big into streetwear. He's big into current styles, which of course mullets are really big right now. So I think the mullet would go with his style and his texture really well. But that's a solid question. I'm actually going to take his baseline. Again, first section completely parallel. So now, as I get into my vertical sections, notice I'm diagonally back a little bit. Reason being is because if I'm here, notice where my body position is. I'm all the way leaned over this way. Versus if I just make those sections go diagonal back, I'm much more comfortable. I'm going to take my section out. I'm going to find that peak in my guideline. And I know it's very small. Like I said, we're not removing a whole lot of length, especially in through these sides. What we're doing is creating our shape. So you guys can see as I took that section out, I have that slight angle coming down. What that's going to do is build up to that square shape on either side of the head. My vertical sections, diagonal sections back. Find my guideline up top. Remove my length coming straight down. The other nice part about the baseline theory is that I don't have to take from my previous section from my guideline, because again, my guideline exists at the top of every single section. Now that we thicken up, you guys can see that guideline a little bit stronger. So you guys can see that angle right now is the exact opposite of what we want. I want that tighter, coming straight in. So that peak right up top, that's my guideline. And I walk it down the head. Now I'm getting close to my initial parting right there, that first sectioning that we created, the front to back. Now I'm on my last section till I'm at my parting. So now I have that first section out of the way. So I have nice texture. He still definitely has length that can curl up, which is nice. That's what I want to see. So now what I want to get rid of is that harsh separation from here to this length in here. So what I'm going to do is that last section, that's going to be my last point of projection. What I mean is my guideline is no longer going to be going around the head. I'm going to pull everything over to the side of his head. So I have my first section coming straight back this way. Now, something I am going to change here is my finger position. Reason being is because, of course, very important length on a mullet is this back here. I wanted the square shape from up here, but I want to retain the length back here. So what I'm going to change is instead of my fingers coming at that angle straight down, now I want to come straight up and down. What that's going to do is as his nape starts to curve in, this is going to be the longest part, which is exactly what we want out of a mullet. Just because of the head shape, now we're getting into longer length. So I'm going to pull this straight out this way. And my guideline is that little piece, again, from that last section that I cut, the top of that, is my guide. And again, now I'm working straight up and down. So you guys can kind of follow my partings back to the head as well. The thing to be worried about with this, I know it seems easy that I could just part it down the middle and take everything. In my opinion, you lose control that way versus taking, even though everything's getting condensed to that same point, by taking individual sections, I'm going to get a lot more control, therefore more precision, as opposed to trying to comb every single hair all one way. So again, bringing this to my previous section. So you guys can see by the end, I'm barely cutting off, just trimming, just a little bit. So now we start to get that nicer transition. Oh man, do you see that? I tell you what, I'm all for being a big critic. I honestly think that's important. I was an educator at a cosmetology school for a while, and a thing that got brought up a lot was students feeling like they're not good enough. Same as what stylists go through a lot, maybe, or barbers the same way, feeling that you're not some perfect cutter. I totally understand that voice in your head. And the reason I think it's an important voice in your head is because that's how you get better. If every single haircut that I do, there's things that I want to change going into the next one, there's things I'm not happy with, that's how I grow. That's how my haircuts continue to get better. As important as that voice is, it's only fair to you guys. So if you're listening to this and you struggle with this, it's genuinely only fair to you that you also accept the other voice that gets happy when you do a good job. When you do a haircut, when you do things well, when everything comes together, you should be just as happy about that as you are critiquing yourself at the same time. So the reason that I do things like that, like check my transition area and make my noises and stuff, is because I'm happy about that. That's cool. That's what I want to see. We still have all of those curls. It's all blending in nicely. Of course, there's going to be things I might want to change about this haircut because that's just how we all are. None of us are, we ever think we're perfect. Unless somebody else says something, then I'm like, listen, bucko, I'm the greatest to ever do it. No, I'm just kidding. But remember, keep that voice just as loud. When things go well, when things start to pan out, especially maybe a haircut like this, maybe mullets aren't where you're the most comfortable. You see the system, you like the system, you try the system, it works out. Be pumped about it. That's the point of all this. You know what I mean? Get excited about it. But if everybody watching is just like very happy with where they're at, then scratch all that last part. So now I'm almost to the middle of the back of the head. And when I get to the middle, that means I can stop because this whole other side is going to get condensed to the other side. So now I'm in my middle. This is my last section. Everything here gets condensed to right above the ear, right behind the ear rather, sorry. Always using my tight teeth to comb my sections as well. Tension equals precision. So use those tight teeth. So now we see one side is done. We have all that nice texture, and look what we still have, all of this length. Best of both worlds, right? We got that nice, instead of the short, and then we're suddenly super long here. That's how I create my distinction between the two. We have our short lengths up here, and again, right behind the ear, right when I'm at the widest point of the head, that's where my projection stops. Everything then gets condensed to that one single point. We retain length, we have a nice separation, as well as a nice blend between the two. So now what we're gonna do is move to the other side. So again, our first steps is going to be creating that baseline length. I'm going to spray them down a little bit more, starting to dry out on me. And if any soccer fans are watching, here's our time, baby. World Cup, U.S. plays today. But I know we get fans from all over, so whoever you're supporting, go them as well. You know what I mean? Gonna reset my middle part. Behind the ear, widest point, separation. Just comb that out because I wanted to resaturate them. Right, so the same thing on this side. So again, I have my hairline coming this way, hairline coming this way, right at that point. That's where I'm gonna make my separation straight back. So now I have the same thing on this side. So as I'm going to remove this length, we always talk about switching from one side to the other. I know that's a thing that people are, how do I make it the same length? How do I make it exact? Quickest answer is experience is going to help you a lot with that. The more you're doing cuts like this, the more you're working through your baseline theory, it's going to get a lot easier. Honestly, after maybe a month of doing cuts like this, changing my style to this, of course, a while ago, it really didn't take me long to get comfortable switching from one side to the next. Of course, the other thing you can do is our comb trick. Not our comb trick, the comb trick. So what we can do is take a section out, lay that out on our comb, see where it reaches. Perfect. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Section out of my way. Again, my marble section. My fingers are parallel to the parting. I'm going to bring this out. All right, then we can use our comb trick. Perfect, we're right there. Now we just remove everything underneath. So the difference is I switch to the side when I'm going to switch up is my finger position. Of course, I can't come in like this. I still want that diagonal back for that comfort. I can't move my body all that way. So now what I'm going to do is come straight down. This is your first time doing this. Spoiler alert, you're not going to like it. But of course, this is the stuff that we talk about. This is where it's important to try those new things. You know what I mean? This is one of those things that when you can get comfortable switching your finger position like this, and of course, if you learn this way, if you've been doing this for a while, that's awesome. Super beneficial. Makes cutting the other side way more comfortable. So I'm following that same guide. I have my angle down, but again, my fingers are flipped. So instead of here and my palm going in closer, now I want my fingertips closer into the head so I can get that same angle. Diagonal back. Take my section. All of these sections are coming straight out where they live, by the way. I'm not over directing this into my first section or into my third section. This is coming directly straight out from where it lives. Take it out. Now again, I'm almost to my initial section. Again, that separation from the front to the back. Okay, on my last one of this section. So now we get that same look as we did the other side. Nice texture, nice flow, just a little bit tighter up around his ear. So now, the exact same thing. I'm going to condense the rest of my sections to that one single point. going to stand on the other side so you guys can see a little bit better. And again, what changes here is my finger position. Now I want to be going straight up and down. Finishing up, getting right to that middle parting again. You guys can see my guideline there as well. And kind of clean up any section that might reach from the other side. Bring it over just to check.
Jacob?
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know, I wasn't even watching the time. I'm so engrossed. This is looking awesome. Thanks for doing something other than a classic so everybody can see that you can use Reuzel no matter what. But here's what
Absolutely.
I wanted to share with you. You've got viewers from Venezuela, Guatemala, and then here in the U.S., New Mexico, Kentucky, Chicago twice, Denver, Idaho, Georgia, Florida. And there's a lot of other people watching, but they're shy and they're not typing where they're watching from. So,
okay.
So it was a good cover when you said the World Cup, but no matter where you're from, cheer for your team because there's a lot of people from all over on here. So keep on going.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just honestly, I'm excited to watch good soccer. I think U.S. has a great shot, but you know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The World Cup's made for upsets, you know. Well, that's awesome. Well, hello everybody. It's great to see people. Well, I guess hear about people from from all over. So now, as we can see, our back is done. Same thing. We still have a lot of curl. We still have a lot of texture, and we're longest down here, which is what we want. So we have that nice texture. Same thing on this side. Nice flow to it, but again, that softer transition. We're not short and then suddenly really long. We have nice shape to it. So I'm going to bring this all straight down, find that little point that's going to be there, and remove that. We definitely don't want it too rat-taily. And again, this is where you can control your length. If you don't want that back quite as long, take that point off higher up. I want just about as much length as we can possibly preserve. So I'm going to hold on to a lot of that. On any of my clients that have any kind of curl to them, I probably spend 25% of my haircut just doing this to them. There's something with that little bit of curl to see how a haircut lays on it is like one of my favorite things to do. So now we're going to get into the top. I'm going to saturate them again super quick. All right, so I'm going to go back to my middle part, and I'm going to separate my top sections out. So now I'm going to go through those partings. Again, widest point of the head, right behind the ear. Then this last part up here, I'm going to separate this in half. Hairline right there. I'm going to follow that up to my middle parting. To me, this is probably my favorite parting because that separation right there, it makes it lay right for real almost every single time. When you guys can figure out exactly where that parting needs to lay as well as where your baseline is, kind of where your baseline is, the things that struggled for me for the longest time was these corners on either side, especially when it's that style that's kind of flipped up and over. No matter how the hair is laying, these corners right here were either always too long to stick out or not long enough, and then that head started to round right up through here. The reason I love this separation is because it keeps that peak pushed up and away. That little corner that's either too long and it sticks straight out, or maybe it's too close in, alleviates those issues because all this hair in this section right here, and this little trapezoid thing that I have, kind of a triangle right here, this is meant for the side of the head, for the top. This is meant for the front. So that separation right there is huge. It's very, very important. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is take care of this top section. My back section has all already been cut. There's maybe a little bit more length we could take off, but again, we're going to go through the top to take off some more length as well. So I'm going to leave that back section in the crown. I'm jumping straight up to this one. So as I take this down, I want this at the same elevation that I first brought my baseline section out. What I mean by that is this one's pretty much coming straight down. I do not want it all the way up here. I want no elevation out of this section. So I take it down, I find where my baseline was. Cut across. That's simple. Now I can take my little corner down again. So now what I'm going to do, because I do want to retain length up here, I'm going to set in my angle. So instead of me taking this and following straight across, I want all that length up there, almost all that length up there. So what we're going to do is set in a nice angle. Not too much. Personally, I think if I go too strong of an angle, like straight down this way, and we're too long up here, it's not going to have any support. Like, yeah, we're still going to have all that length, but it's going to be almost too disconnected from the rest of the haircut. So this is still a pretty harsh angle. You can see by these last pieces how little we're cutting off. That's what we want. Now we really have our mullet shape setting in. So I'll turn them around. Go through the same thing on the other side. I'm going to start with that parting. And again, that hairline straight up to my middle part. Gotta clean that one up a bit. Same thing on the other side. We have where our crown will be, where our crown section is, this middle one here, and that front part, that front triangle. So this section coming straight down. See my baseline? Now I can take my triangle down. Same thing. And here is where we get to the issue of, is my angle going to be the exact same? To which my response is, doesn't matter. You want it in the ballpark. Of course, I'm not going to take this section and completely go the other way around, but I'm going to get it about as close as what I think would be best. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to make sure it all blends in a second here. So same thing, pretty harsh angle. When it all lays down, you can see that nice weight line sitting right there. Now is where we really see it really start to come together. So like I said, there's a little bit of bulk in through this area that I want to take out. and a little bit in through here that I want the sides to be able to support the top really, really nice. So I'm going to take off just a bit more length through there. I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do that. So what I've done is I took a skinny mohawk through the top. Now we can see a little bit of a corner. We can see where we have that length. So we have our hair back here. That's, again, all these layers right around his occipital. And then we have our front length. We have the corner right there we're going to take out. So all I've done is I've taken the skinny mohawk section straight up. From there, I'll walk it forward. Now notice as I get to this part of the head, that recession starts a little bit above the ear. Right there is where that head starts to curve down. I do not follow that head shape. My fingers stay square as his head starts to curve down. What this is going to do is, again, retain length right at the front. That's where we want it. The finished style is going to be those almost kind of curtainy, coming straight down pieces in the front. So I want that length up there, right? So that's why that follows straight up, and I do not follow his head shape down. So now what I'm going to do, split him straight down the middle. And now from across the top of his head, I'm just going to take horizontal sections. Again, everything is going to come straight up. Not much to cut off this section. That's fine. I always want to check those sections anyway, where I think maybe nothing is going to be able to get cut. To be honest, there's plenty of times that I'm wrong. No, there's not. Who am I kidding? I'm perfect. I'm just kidding. So as I'm taking these sections up, notice I really don't have that much to cut off them, which is totally fine. That's telling me that my corners at least blend. What I mean by my corners is those angles that we set in to make sure that this piece is going to be the same as this piece. That skinny mohawk is how I create that. So again, now we've parted in half. I'm going to check these sections on this side just to be sure. Well, this little guy's out of place a little bit. That's all right. We'll take him right off. See what I mean? We got a few. That's all right. That's why we want to check those sections. Everything's coming straight up. There we go. Nothing to take off. Straight up. And we blend from side to side. So now I'm going to saturate these a little bit more with my curly / wavy hair. Saturation is key. Lack of saturation is how we get to frizz. So as like counterintuitive as it seems, we're going to spray them back down before we style them out. So I'm going to start off with, I'm going to go with my Surf Tonic. Reuzel Surf Tonic. The most important part for me out of this is the heat protectant. A lot of, I mean, especially guys will tend to think that they don't need the heat protectant. I use heat protectant on my hair. Any length of hair that you're taking heat to needs some kind of heat protectant, especially if you're wanting some kind of healthy grow out. We want even longer hair. Healthy hair is how we achieve that. Healthy hair equals growth. So I always want to use a heat protectant. Of course, the other huge component of this is the styling aspect. That Surf Tonic to me just gives a little bit more hold than what the grooming tonic does. And for a style like this, that's what I want. It's not going to freeze anything in place. It's going to be just that little bit stronger to help with those curls. And you guys notice he's pretty saturated with the Surf Tonic. Personally, I've not ran into the issue of ever using too much with any of it, of course, and it's your first time. You kind of want to go in moderation, but at the same time, when you want a lot more of that texture, that's how we create that. So got a decent amount sprayed in there now. And what I'm going to do is blow dry. I'm going to go through with a diffuser, especially in the back, but I'm going to show you guys how to not use a diffuser if you don't have a diffuser.
Before you
so I'm going to start in the front.
Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Before you start drawing, though, I did ask everybody what they'd like you to finish with. So when you're done blow drying, I'll have a list of products for you that the group would like to see.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So I'm going to start with this section here. What I don't want to get into is these curls. So pretty much the exact same way we cut it, I'm focusing on just this section right here. So I'm on high air, low heat. Now I'm on high air, low heat. This is all just coming straight back. Now I want to show you guys another little trick to get a little bit more volume out of this side to really kind of get that flow effect. So as I started by pushing all this back because I want those roots dry. I want the roots to know this is the way that we're going. That's how the hair is meant to behave. Now to get a little bit more volume, what I'm going to do with my little vent brush here, I'm going to take all these sections the other way. So by doing that, now we still get that nice feathered back look, but we're sitting out a little bit farther. We got a little bit more of that volume. So that's how I'll start. I'll take my concentrator right at the roots, push everything back. Then I take my sections, push everything forward. That's how we get that nice flow right in there. That's what we want to see. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Push all that up out of my way. Again, start by pushing this back. What I look for whenever I switch this up, it's about 75 to 80% dry. Again, those roots dry and the hair is mostly dry. This should be like finishing touch type of stuff. Same thing. We get that flow back real nice. So like I said, now is where I'm going to switch to diffuser. If you don't have a diffuser, my favorite way to blow dry without it to, again, keep a lot of that texture, I'm going to keep my distance a little bit more than what I'd be used to. Notice I no longer have my concentrator on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all of these curls up. Very gently hit them. Pull them all up. Notice how when I'm taking those sections up, I'm not squeezing super tight because that's what's going to lead to frizz. That's what's going to separate all those individual curls. So whenever I do it, I'll cut my hands a little bit, push it up into itself, then I stop. That's it. No pull up, hit it with that blow dryer a little bit. Now, if you do have a diffuser, the way that I like to diffuse, kind of the same idea. Take those curls up. Now I put my hand in place there because I'm going to keep this diffuser in place. And once my hand gets hot, that's where I know his head's going to get hot. I can take the blow dryer away. Take those curls up, diffuser up into the head. Okay. So the bottom is looking really, really nice. I know it's crazy curly, but that's what we want. Whenever the hair is dry, we lose control. So if there's not enough curl, there's not enough volume, whatever it is, and the hair is already dry, that's just where you're at. Versus we can always remove. We can take volume down. So now I'm going to tilt his head back farther to get that crown area. There we go. Back starting to look nice. That's what we want. A lot of texture. Again, we are not completely done with that. We will be coming back to that. So now I'm going to finish off the top. I still want his curl to be there, but not quite as strong. I kind of want more of like that curtain kind of flow straight back look and then go into all the curls. So the way that I'm going to make that happen, I think this brush is perfect for that. It doesn't give me so much tension that it completely removes curls, but it weakens them a little bit. So again, I can put the direction in that I want. His curl naturally in his hair just tells me that it's going to behave. It's going to listen to the direction that I tell it to. So what I want to do with these sections now is put in that same type of flow that we put in for the sides. I'm going to bring all this hair over to me. Starting with the crown area, go straight back. Again, I'm right on the root. That's all I'm worried about right now. I want the scalp dry, the roots dry. That direction should be straight back. So that's what I'm telling all the roots right now. Same idea, low heat, high air. So now, and I know a lot of you guys have seen for especially like a lot of the pompadour styling, that blow dry all the way is great. That's how we get a lot of that really nice lift up here. We get a lot of that smoothness through here. But again, those two things aren't exactly what we want right now. We want the texture, we want the curl, and we want a lot of volume even in through the back. So now that those roots are dry, what I'm going to start doing is picking my sections up and taking them back. This is for, again, the volume as well as the direction. I want that curl to be coming straight down that way. So my brush is how I'm going to make that happen. Picking it up, taking it back. So now I'm going to finish up the other side super quick. So again, I'm going to brush all of this down to me. And now we're done with our blow dry. Again, this isn't our completely finished. We just put in the things that we want. We wanted certain curl, we wanted certain volume, we wanted certain direction. We made that happen in the blow dry. So now, Carrie, I hope the products that people asked about are the same ones that I was wanting to use. But what do we got? What do we want to see with this?
So we've got clay matte pomade, grooming cream, and fiber cream mixed with fiber gel.
Okay.
Any of those on your radar?
I think probably my favorite out of that would be a grooming cream. And that's actually a great point to bring up, because that would be if we need a little bit less curl drawn out, or if we need more control. If maybe the hair is a little bit thicker than this, if the hair has pull in a bunch of weird different ways, maybe we have weird cowlicks. I love blow drying with the grooming cream, especially on a style like this. Again, it's not going to be super overbearing, but it's that even stronger kick than Surf Tonic, kind of the way that I'll rank them as far as strength that I need. My grooming tonic is going to be, you never want to say at the bottom because they're all great products. As far as hold goes, that's going to be my lowest hold. Again, that's mostly just for my heat protectant that I want to put in the head. The Surf Tonic is now when I need a little bit of control. That Surf Tonic is going to be great for a style like this, where as you can see, his hair is still holding where we want it to. And then again, my third tier of strength for pre-blow dry is that grooming tonic. I do love finishing off with that as well. I'll probably, yeah, I'll definitely use some of the grooming cream.
Perfect.
That's a good one to use for this. So the amount that I'm going to use, it's about that first knuckle. First knuckle to the top. I know we talk about knuckles with pomades, but to be honest, I do the same thing with our creams, just because as a consumer, when barbers would be like, oh, you put a dime size, whatever in your hand, I immediately forget what a dime looks like at all anymore, and I use too much or too little. So that knuckle rule is great for really dispersing any product that I use. So that first knuckle is covered. I want that emulsification. So now with length like this, where I'm going to start is I'm going to use my fingertips. So we have the product all over my hand. From that first knuckle up is what I'm going to apply with. Reason being is because kind of the difficulty that can happen is I have product all over my hands, and if I just stick my hand here, only this part sees product. The way that products work best is if it gets on every single hair on the head. So now that I'm applying it with just my fingertips, you guys can see it comes off my fingertips, go back into your reservoir, go somewhere that you haven't touched yet. So again, using my fingertips, really just working this product in. Get a little bit on his forehead for good luck. That's always important. Just kidding, don't do that. Don't tell anybody I told you to do that either.
It's too
All right,
late.
so now our product is administered. So now I have just a clipper comb. Something that the teeth is going to be just wide enough to kind of administer without really ruining anything. I'm going to brush out, comb out the curls just a little bit, not too much so they can keep their shape. And this is the part that we could probably spend another hour just doing this part. What I'm looking for is I want that middle part, and I kind of want that nice brush back look. Not too much volume on the sides, still supporting what's on top. And again, we still have, of course, all that nice curl in the back. So kind of like we talked about in the beginning, using very similar steps, changing them just a little bit. Again, now we're on the test, right? You guys have the foundation, you guys have the lesson plans. Where do we change that? How can we now, that we have a very different haircut in front of us, something that's not one of the classic cuts, how do we change it? How do we make sure that we can still use those same steps, still give every client what they want? This is one of those ways. A little bit of finishing touches I'd probably do. I'm going to take my trimmer up over there a little bit, and of course I'm going to get a little bit behind the neck as well. But here we have our haircut. I'll go ahead and spin them around. Let you guys see the whole thing. He's beautiful. So we got that nice flow into all these curls. No harsh separation anywhere, but we have our shorter pieces into our longer pieces. All this curl back here. We got our volume on top. We have our length on top. We got a handsome boy. You know what I mean? So there we have it. If there are any remaining questions, comments, concerns, anything like that.
One gentleman says, "Oh, you got a big clap." I think those are the hands from Taylor. And then this other gentleman says, "Love mullets all the way." So good call on doing a mullet today. Flow
Nice.
is awesome. I mean, just compliments all the way around. I think you did a stellar job, Jacob. Thank you so much. It was really fun to watch.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
It looks great. So before we let everybody go, let me just tell you that next week, Bailey Russell, she's going to join us. There's another looks great. Bailey does a terrific live demonstration as well. She'll have a total different take on using our Reuzel cutting methodology. So we look forward to seeing you. If you are in the United States, have a very happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you back next week. Everyone else around the world, stay safe, be well. Thanks for your support of Reuzel Education, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.